Welcome to Audio Gyan with Kedar Nimkar, a podcast that documents insightful conversations with Indian designers, artists, musicians, writers, thinkers and creatives of all types. Catch us on iTunes or visit audiogyan.com for more Gyan sessions. Here's your host Kedar Nimkar.
Today I have Ashish Deshpande with us on Audio Gyan, an industrial designer from NID Ahmadabad. He started his design entrepreneurship in 1989, almost 29 years ago, by co-founding Elephant, one of India's pioneering design practices. Ashish leads the product and retail experience innovation group, but believes that design must not be narrowed into disciplines, and understanding user is the key component to any innovation activity. He has been speaker at various conventions, conferences, seminars, and regularly conducts workshops on product innovation process. Ashish is the president of Association of Designers of India since 2010 and a founding member of Pune Design Festival since 2007. So thank you, Ashish, for giving your time, and it's a real honor to have you on Audio Gyan.
So thank you, Kedar. Thank you for getting me on Audio Gyan. It's a pleasure to be here and happy to be speaking with you.
Thank you. Given your interviews on YouTube, on different websites, I've just come up with few questions based on whatever I understood, but the topic will revolve around design thinking in India, especially in the Indian context. So the first thing which I want to ask you is, what is design thinking in Indian context? I mean, when we talk about Tim Brown or design thinking process, all those are slightly geared towards the Western school of thought. So in India, when we have a lot of jugaad happening, so I believe everyone becomes a designer to a certain extent. So what happens, or what are your thoughts on overall design thinking in India?
It's a wonderful question, Kedar. First, let's break the myth.
Mm-hmm.
Design thinking is not new.
Okay.
As humans, we have this innate ability to do problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
The day the early man kind of put a stone to a stick and made an axe, it was an act of design thinking.
Okay.
And since that day and all throughout, we have been kind of solving problems.
Mm-hmm.
So solving problem is like a second nature to us. It's there within our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So design thinking is deep inside everybody.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who kind of surface this term design thinking and kind of probably explain design thinking in a scientific manner. That's probably happened in recent times. But design thinking for us has existed all these years. Okay. So that's one example. And let me take an example. Since you mentioned the word jugaad.
Mm-hmm.
Jugaad is probably a misused word, and it's a misused word for people trying to address their day-to-day issues.
Correct.
Let me give an example of Muhammad Saidullah from Bihar. Probably you might have heard about him, or
I don't recollect exactly. But
so he did a very interesting thing. Each year, a flood used to ravage his nearby areas, and he used to find it difficult to go to work because there used to be water all around. So what does Muhammad Saidullah do? He decided to just attach tins to his bicycle.
Okay.
Yeah. So the bicycle started floating, and he pedaled his way all across, and kind of went to his day-to-day work because he had to make his living. Now he solved his immediate problem.
Correct.
And as humans, we do it all the time. We come across problems and we try and solve them. Right. That's an invention. And in fact, for this effort of Mr. Saidullah, he was also recognized by the National Innovation Foundation as a great invention.
Oh, achha,
right.
Achha.
So design thinking is there within our fabric. You might want to call it jugaad. You might want to call it something else. And design, if you say per se design, the word design in the modern context, it exists everywhere. Everything is designed.
Correct.
We are speaking, the mic in front of me is designed. Somebody has designed the chair I am sitting on.
Correct.
The handle, the door is designed. Everything is designed.
Yeah.
Everything is designed. The question is, and the point here is it good design? I think that is what we should focus on. There are jugaads, all kind of jugaads which people do to kind of address their day-to-day lives. But when you solve a problem in its entirety, make the solution enabled so that many people can use it.
Correct.
And it's a sensible design, a sensible design, then it becomes a good design. Yeah. And let me give you two examples. Since you mentioned in the Indian context, I'm going to particularly pick two examples. One is the age-old example of this container, which we normally call lota. Now you will say, okay, lota is a simple object, right?
Correct.
But have you ever wondered who designed the lota?
No.
Right. So it's a very interesting fact, because the lota has been there existing for centuries. Probably I saw my grandmother use it in the house. It was passed down to my mother, and probably from there it's still there in my house, and I use it even today. So it's a container which has been designed across ages. By people, by artisans, by so many people. We may not have called them designers in those days, but there were people who were continuously evolving this product. And it's a wonderful product. It's a very simple product. It can hold water, it can hold milk, it can hold oil, it can hold grain, it can measure water, half a liter, 1 liter, and so on. It can measure amount of grain, half a kg, 1 kg, and whatever. So it can measure weight, it can measure volume. Right, it's ergonomic. It's very easy to hold. It's got that wonderful lip. With that lip, it gets a wonderful form. It's easy to hold, probably in hand or maybe on your waist.
Correct.
You've seen women carrying it in probably rural areas.
Correct.
Right. So that's the evolution of the design of the lota. Right. The fluid within the lota, because of the specific shape, it kind of prevents it from splashing over. Correct. So it kind of controls the fluid dynamics. And when you pour this water or oil or milk from the lota, it makes a wonderful sound.
Correct.
Isn't that great design?
Yeah.
And that design is made locally. It's produced by artisans around, and it's available even today after centuries. Now that's a great sensible piece of design. Right. And now let me give you the second example. Again, Indian, not in context of something from past centuries, right, but something very, very modern.
Okay.
So in 2009, when we had the elections, general elections, we consumed 8,800 tons of paper.
Oh God.
Okay, that's a phenomenal amount of paper for all the ballot paper and other stationery which is required for during elections. And in 2014, when we held the elections, the general elections were held using the electronic voting machine for the first time across India. Okay, see the phenomenal work done by the electronic voting machine. Okay, it's a phenomenal piece of design done by the IIT Industrial Design Center, Powai, by the professors of IIT Powai Industrial Design Center, and it completely solved several issues. First of all, 20,000 trees were saved from getting axed and made into paper. Okay, which is a phenomenal thing by itself.
Correct.
Then it made the life of normal people who were going to vote very easy, because even an uneducated person knew exactly what to do on the machine. Correct. The whole machine made the entire voting process compact. What used to take volumes of space to kind of store the ballot boxes was now reduced to a little tiny briefcase.
Correct.
And it was easy to transport it. The election results came out in a few hours.
Correct. Analyze for
and analysis happened very quickly, and it even prevented bogus voting.
Correct.
Now, isn't that a piece of great, sensible design?
Absolutely.
And look at both these designs, one from the past and one from the present. Both have had tremendous impact on people. And not just one or 100 or 1,000 people, but millions of people. We are talking about some 900 million people who vote in this country today. And see the amount of impact the electronic voting machine has had. Now that is good design. So the point is that design is about good design. Design thinking exists,
Correct.
But how much of that is actually good design, we have to see. And we have to see that design works maximum for the society, for the people. As long as that is happening, we have design thinking happening in this country.
Correct. That reminds me of one interview which I did with Praveen Solanki sir, and he gave an example of Khat, which is like another brilliant piece of design because you can use it to block certain sections, create partitions, sleep, stack one over the other, so you get more space in the round. So yeah, I mean, there are like
when a design lends itself to multi-purpose use, it actually prolongs its life.
Correct. And
it prolongs its purpose. Okay, and that is what we want. Today we complain about single-use packs, throwaway economy. Everybody is complaining about that. The government just banned, government of Maharashtra just banned the use of plastic bags. because it's single use and so on, and it kind of litters the environment. It's bad for the soil and so on. It's non-biodegradable, adding to landfill issues, probably affecting animals and bird life.
Correct.
Right. So there's several issues with that. And now when you run a design which kind of relives its life again and again, by being a cart, as Praveen said, becoming a partition, becoming a wall, becoming probably a place to give you shade.
Correct.
So you are prolonging that use of that device, and when it lasts across days, years, centuries, then you have maxed on the resources available on this little planet. This precious planet.
In fact, it's the other way around also. If it's really good design, then the longevity of the product anyways is longer.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
Ashish, I would like to, since you mentioned about these two objects and these two case studies kind of a thing, I would like to understand where do you think India stands in terms of design standards across the board? I mean, you can pick any vertical, say healthcare or transportation or lifestyle or any of the product, any of the vertical, and just set some insights to our listeners saying that this is where India stands in terms of if you compare the global design market.
Okay, let me first clarify that design is actually a function of local needs.
Okay.
It's a function of local economies and local produce. We just talked about sensibility in design, right? And how design addresses the local issues. It's always about that. So in this context, if you are going to compare what happens across globally to what happens in India, it's like comparing coconuts to avocados or something like that. We have never seen avocados. In fact, I hadn't seen it till recently. But we know about coconuts, right? So that is very close to us. We understand what we can do with a coconut.
Correct.
But probably we don't understand avocados. So comparing Indian design to what happens across in other parts and regions of the world is probably I would say a wrong comparison.
Okay.
Our needs are different. Our requirements are completely different. Our associations are different. Our affordability of what we can probably buy or use is completely different.
No, but the question is slightly geared towards understanding that there are certain contextual or cultural needs in other parts of the country, and their designers have addressed that in a certain way. India being a diverse country and obviously under the colonial rule, so gone through a different phase. Initially it was different. Now there are certain problems at a grassroots level or an urban lifestyle as well. So how are designers contributing to solve that problem as opposed to how they are doing it in the West maybe?
Right. So you look at our country of 1.3 billion people, right? And as you rightly said, our problems and the context for the problems is completely different.
Correct.
And that is where probably I was trying to drive my earlier point. We have great needs today in sectors like energy. We have a shortfall of energy, healthcare. Normal people don't have access to healthcare, good healthcare, good diagnostics, good medicine to reach out to them. Education is not able to reach across to every little child in this country.
Correct.
Higher education is a problem. Nutrition is a problem. And then we have a whole lot of traditional handicrafts and the big industry which is there and which is kind of dying. Dying because they don't know what to do. In all these contexts, design is going to be a very big help.
Correct.
Right. And if you look at that, our nature of problem is completely different compared to what the West deals with. We are not a luxury economy. Especially if you look at the Western world and evolved economies, I'm not talking about the evolving economies, but the evolved ones. We are not a nation which rests itself on producing grand cars, or industrially produced furniture, or lifestyle luxury products. We are not into that. Probably we are borrowing some part of our economy or some part of our segment of population does borrow from that, but majority does not. And majority of our population has those specific specific problems. I want a transport solution to go from Mumbai to, let us say, Satara. Do I have a great transport solution? Probably today it's not. And from Satara to my village, probably the last mile connect is not there at all. So our country has a very different nature of problems which probably we need to solve. Hence, as designers, we probably need to address those problems and probably target those problems. And designers in India have been working towards those problems in sense. And hence the comparison of what's happening in India to what's happening in the global context probably may not exist. However, we have an issue of mindset. And that is something probably we kind of need to address. Since you talked about comparison, and I would say that at mindset level, probably we need to build in this awareness of design and try to get that mindset of using good services and good products into our day-to-day life. That needs to come into the general use of not just people, but also people who are governing these people, and people who are kind of servicing these people. So once that happens, probably we one day will be a design-led nation. Right now, probably we are not design-led.
Yeah. I got the point which you are trying to say here by. There are different needs altogether which have to be addressed. Yeah.
So maybe just to illustrate this point, let me give an example from my own work. And I've been now designing air coolers for a company for the last almost 27 years.
Wow.
The company is well known. It's called Symphony. And when we began designing for this company, people outside the country used to laugh at us. See, people in India understood the need. Air coolers at a very, very fractional amount of energy expense, using very little water, are able to give you a cooling effect, which is better than the fan. And a country where you have hot summers like India, where the atmosphere is dry and hot, coolers play a very big role. But if you look at coolers in any other evolved nation globally, coolers were considered as a contraption. Right? Now, you figure out that over a period of time, everybody has understood that there is a paucity of energy, there is a paucity of natural resources, and it's important to use devices which kind of conserve energy. Yeah, and coolers have become popular across the world. So this one company which started manufacturing coolers for Indian market, let's say 25, 27 years back, today is supplying coolers to 70 odd countries across the globe, including the US of A. Yeah. So now you understand that in the global context, our products are also going across, because some of the sensibilities which we've had, which were very local, have now understood that yes, probably there are great sensibilities to even adopt to the conditions which are existing elsewhere, and hence. Now, this whole point which you began with, kind of comparing the context of what happens in India, design which is happening in India, and design which is happening globally. There are some sensibilities which are also getting adopted the other way around, not just, we looking at the West and aping a few things.
Yeah. I was slightly naive while thinking of this question, because I was comparing in my mind the aesthetics of the Scandinavian furniture and things like that as opposed to India. But now you brought a different perspective altogether to look at this situation as well. So cool. So from given your experience, which sector of industry do you think needs maximum support? I mean, obviously there are a bunch of industries which need support, but predominantly any particular sector which needs a lot of design help, and why do you think so?
Now, this is big, and I would like to refer to a blog called Design for India by the late Professor M.P. Ranjan.
Okay.
Professor M.P. Ranjan used to teach design at several institutions, including at NID for a long period of time. And he ran this blog. And with his students, he identified about 230 sectors where design can play a major role. Right. So it's not when you talk about sectors where design can play a role, it's not a few sectors. We are talking about 230 sectors identified clinically where design can play a role. However, but there are sectors which probably there are big gaps, and they are being seen today, especially healthcare. Healthcare is a very big sector. in general, the health conditions in India, for several reasons, including reaching medicine to the common man, is very difficult, and hence healthcare bears a lot of significance. So healthcare is one of the most primary sectors where I would say a lot of design inputs are going to take place. And lately I've been seeing a lot of startups, a lot of industry initiatives in producing devices and services which are geared towards handling the problems and the gaps which are seen in the healthcare sector. So that's one. Then I talked about this energy and the resources shortfall, especially power. And so devices which probably help consume less power, which kind of help you ride over shortfalls, are going to take a lot of importance in the Indian landscape. So that's another area probably where one could devote to. And third, as I mentioned, is handicrafts. Handicrafts is an area where lots can be done. We have such a huge tradition. For centuries we have had great crafts, and that probably can spawn an entire series of creative manufacturing industry. Unfortunately, right now there is a lot of effort being put together to just conserve the traditional crafts,
make them survive.
But that is not what is required. What is required today is design intervention in the craft sector. Now, some excellent examples have happened in the past. For example, the Jawaja experiment, where they kind of worked with the craftspeople in Rajasthan in a place called Jawaja and helped them create new designs. They used to make mochadis earlier, and camel belts, which were traditionally being used. But who needs camel belts today, and who wears mochadis, right? Very few people do. So they using design and good management principles, the local craftspeople were taught not just to design, but also how to run their business, of marketing such well-designed products. So a brand almost by the name Jawaja got created, with the nature of the newly designed products, and it kind of opened out new avenues for them. So this is just one example.
There's also something Punarnava crafts, I think, from Odisha.
Right. Every region has crafts, and we have so many crafts. If you go every 200 kilometers, probably you will come across a new craft. There is Professor M.P. Ranjan's his own case study of the lacquer craft, wooden toy craft near Mysore, is a great example of again where design intervention can make the craft come alive, right? And what it opens out is a new markets. It opens out new doors, and not just in India. It opens out global markets for us. And what it does is it creates job creation.
Correct. And also empowers the artisans.
Empowers the artisan, creates job creation, creates economy in that area, starts trickling, the money starts trickling in, and there is growth and healthy, happiness which kind of returns to that part of the country. Now, these are the areas probably we need to focus on in design.
So, just to dig deeper into the medical sector which you mentioned about, is there like an inertia from the management side or the government institutes to improve it, or is it the lack of good designers contributing to that sector?
Let's look at the government initiative of Make in India. Now, shouldn't it be designed in India and then Make in India? Right. So probably we need to look at. I mean, I'm sure the Make in India initiative is very good, because eventually, if you set up manufacturing units, you kind of also empower people with jobs and so on. So it has many other benefits. Maybe import substitutes and so on. However, if you design, you create a strong intellectual property on which you can get value. Right. So now, the moment you start getting value on your design, the growth in economy quadruples.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So I think that's something which probably we need to seriously take. The government, began with starting this great initiative of Make in India, and then somehow they did add somewhere a prefix called designed also. But then there has to be much more than just maybe lip service. I would love to see great initiatives coming actually from the government to help support design, reach out to these underserved areas. Now, having said that, let me also say that in 2010, the National Design Policy was adopted by the government, by the DIPP, which is Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, basically Ministry of Industries, and that has led to certain amount of impetus in using design. India Design Mark was established to look at well-designed products.
Correct.
So if your product is well-designed, it gets an India Design Mark, and hence probably it does better in the market than others. So and I think by today some 400 odd products have probably secured India Design Mark, which is a great start to begin with. But much more needs to be done. Much more. Today, it's important that every government organization, every quasi-government organization, every corporation, every corporator understands design and kind of uses design to give maximum benefits to people and the society. I think the day that happens, probably,
Correct.
All the sectors of design and probably seeing that this becomes a design-led nation, and design eventually will help create happiness and prosperity with the people, and that probably is what we should look forward to.
Yeah, I remember Uday Atwankar's interview where he said design is there to improve life. So maybe if it's a design-led nation, then automatically the lives of people will be improved in a certain way.
True, and probably we should talk about, I think what Professor Atwankar also meant is the focus on people. Many times we come up with schemes, and they're good schemes, but they are not focused on people.
Correct.
So eventually when you focus on people, you end up helping them, right? And design, by the nature of what it is, it kind of helps focusing on people. And when you have solutions tailor-made to people, then they are happy.
Correct.
Yeah, and their life improves.
But then, there is a trade-off, because obviously they are not designed to address all the people. There are certain sections of society for which it is addressed. And that's why it's not like a very robust solution. And
you saw the example of the electronic voting machine. It meant to be addressed by everybody.
Yeah,
or the eventual example of a lota or the cart which Praveen Solanki talked about.
Correct.
So it is possible to come up with solutions which addresses masses. It's just that we have to take design a little more seriously than what we do today.
Wow, that's brilliantly put. So slightly changing tracks here, and I wanted to understand, since you mentioned, and the earlier question also which I had, that are there, say in the medical sector, there are people who are contributing to improve lives through medical, in the medical section through design. So similarly, do you think, as in, what are your thoughts on agencies like, say, Elephant Design or other advertising agencies, maybe, for example, or any media houses coming up with CSR kind of projects, because there lies the designers and good talent in terms of design. So how can they bring in their expertise and give back to the society or improve certain sections which they are interested in? And so what are your thoughts on that? Like, is it so this is just a random improvement which I thought of. I wanted to know your feedback as to...
No, but I think it's a brilliant question, because what this talks about and what your question is talking about is values. And what are the values we as professionals and anybody who's probably practicing design, whether I'm doing it on my own, whether as part of Elephant Design, or if I'm part of any other design company or advertising agency or something like that. What are the values we are practicing? And one of the values which you must practice is that you must always give back to the society. That it's very important, because what you take, you do take something, and what do you give back? I think both are equally important. So at Elephant,
giving back is form of a service itself, but I think more to that has to happen, right?
Yeah,
because then
true.
Because you're taking money for whatever.
Let's say, for example, at Elephant Design, CSR has never been an act of a monetary contribution, or just lip service of helping somebody. It has always been action. So we have been doing pro bono work for several agencies. There is a foundation called the Design Action Foundation, and they have a local counterpart which is called Deep Griha again Foundation, which ran a nutrition project. Okay. And we kind of pro bono helped them create the platform and design work which they needed to get this across to the people, the nutrition across to people. level.
Okay.
Yeah? We have been working with De Asra, which is a foundation from Persistent Systems, so Persistent System Foundation, which empowers people, young people, to set up small businesses. Because the role of this foundation is to help people develop their own entrepreneurial skills, and they want to, at the end of the year, kind of create 10,000 entrepreneurs, in small businesses. But why not, right? Who are creating jobs opportunities on their own and earning and creating wealth on their own. So we have been helping again at a pro bono level. Delivering Change Foundation is another foundation which is looking at societal level and community level interventions. For example, water conservation. We have been working with them again pro bono. So there are several such examples where we have contributed to existing programs. It's important to contribute to existing programs, because if you start a program on your own, it has its own challenges.
Correct.
Yeah? Having said that, we have within at Elephant, we have started something which is called the Platinum Lab.
Okay.
Now, what is a Platinum Lab? It looks at aging population issues. So now that's a area which we thought was kind of not addressed. It was not on anybody's the marketing the world where they are doling out products and services is not focused on the aging population. They are the marginalized ones, right? And there is no focus. Even the government, there is very little focus except for certain IT related SOPs. There is nothing which is happening for the elderly population. So we decided to focus on the aging population and look at their issues and problems. And it was a revelation, because it was not a project which was kind of given to us by somebody, but we ran this project. We did deep research, talking to several sections of society and aging population, people who are single, people who are probably couples, and looked at what affected them, what affected them at a functional level, and what are their top of the mind apprehensions or fears, right? And based on that, a number of solutions have come out. And we are developing those solutions. Now, this is an activity completely on our own.
Correct.
Right? And like this, we have several other initiatives. We started this whole program of teaching our own colleagues at Elephant of how to take care of wet garbage. Now, you have to begin somewhere, right? And you begin there, and you teach everybody how to take care of the wet garbage within the premises, and we end up with manure, which everybody uses at their home as well as in our office space, right?
Correct.
And it also teaches them how to do it at their home. So we have something like 65 people here, and imagine 65 people today are trained in understanding how to take care of their own wet garbage issues.
Wow.
So it kind of, and probably it has a multiplying effect as we kind of go on.
Yeah.
So several such initiatives are there, and we love to be around with these initiatives. We also have a little formula which says, okay, so many projects we will do, which are probably commercial projects, because we eventually have to run an organization.
Correct.
But we will also do so much of work which is probably pro bono. And devote so much of time. Each one of us devote so much of time, which is probably pro bono.
Correct. That's very noble of you, and I hope the listeners get inspired to do something in their respective companies as well.
Yeah, I think more than noble, it is a value, and it's a value each one of us and probably all organizations kind of need to adopt.
Correct.
And many have adopted this, but many others need to adopt. And imagine the world then.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Design
a very
Red
different
Nation.
world. Design Red Nation.
Ashish, I would like to conclude with one last question, which is slight cliche question, but just to know your thoughts on that, looking at your overall enthusiasm about design and giving back to the society and everything we spoke about till now. What is the future of design that looks like in India?
So the future is always bright, and what kind of ticks me?
I would like to know why bright also, because
that's what I'm getting to that. What ticks me is that slowly, I would say very slowly, the tortoise pace, but the the governance, which is actually important for us to kind of dole out programs. And I'm talking about, I'm not talking about design affecting a few. Okay, because that's something which will happen even in the future. A lot of things are going to happen in terms of business, in terms of technology, and many of those things will get rolled out. But I am talking about large scale impact. Large scale impact, especially in the case of India, which is going to affect our 1.3 billion people. Okay, and I feel that the government is slowly waking up to this nuance of design. I talked about the National Design Policy. I talked about India Design Mark. The Ministry of Micro and Small Scale Enterprises, MSMEs, has doled out a design clinic program.
Oh, nice.
Which enables tiny industries, micro industries, to take help of design. And they subsidize the entire design effort, right up to prototyping and manufacturing, which is a phenomenal effort.
Yeah.
And they've been running this program for the last 4 or 5 years, probably in a little understated manner, but it has shown great results. And small scale industries and micro industries are coming forward to use. Now, look at this. It's just a start. Look at this program 20 years from now, and this will be a phenomenal powerhouse. Okay, and that is the power of design for us. When design happens at that bottom of the pyramid level, okay, and I'm talking about that's where the phenomenal change is going to happen. Yeah, we will do those top of the mind, the high tech smart device, design meets technology products,
driverless cars,
driverless cars, and all that will keep happening, right?
Yeah.
But what will happen at the bottom of the pyramid is going to drive, and what makes me very happy that there is a little trickle which has started, and I'm sure it's going to become a flood. Yeah,
wow.
It's a question of time. It's a question of time how we probably, as I used the word earlier, mindsets, how we change the mindsets within our own set of people surrounding us, including the ones governing us. And once that happens, probably this is a very different nation we are going to talk about.
Wow. That's very, very optimistic, and I can see the brightness there. I think this is a good note to end this. There's been a lot of learning curve for me as well in this talk. And it was wonderful talking to you. Thank you, Ashish, for giving your time.
Thank you, Kedar. Happy to have been here.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
And that's it from today's Gyan session. Catch us on iTunes, Saavn, Stitcher, or any podcasting app you use. Do rate us on iTunes and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Stay tuned for more Gyan on audiogyan.com. Till then, bye.